comes in all shapes and sizes. When companies want to advertise their offers, it's usually very large. Then there's the info they have to give us by law, but which might make the product less tempting. This print ranges from the small to the almost indecipherable.
We're always being warned to study the small print before buying, but how many of us have the time to wade through it all? There's just so much of it. Some of it's so complicated, you need a lawyer just to help you understand it.
One like Nick Freeman, maybe. The man celebs and sports stars call when they're accused of driving offences. He knows every dot and comma of motoring law, so nearly always wins. No wonder they call him Mr. Loophole. But even he was defeated by the small print in his pet insurance policy. When his dog Rocco fell ill on a family holiday in France, the insurers refused to cover him because Nick failed to tell them about the holiday 2 weeks beforehand, just as the small print specified. The result, a £4,500 vet's bill. Merci beaucoup.
Well, no offence, Buster, but after that story, I'm not sure I can afford to take you away with us this year. Mind you, it mightn't be much cheaper keeping you at home.
Ask Michelle Goodyear. She took out a pet insurance policy for her dog, Jack, last year.
On the day of the policy starting, unfortunately Jack had an accident whereby he got a little tear under his arm, which needed to have attention by a vet, which resulted in a little operation to get it stitched up. That resulted in a bill which I thought I'd be able to claim from the insurance company.
Wrong! Buried away in the terms and conditions was a clause saying that if a pet has an accident within 5 days of the policy starting, it won't be covered. Result, a £150 vet's bill for Michelle.
Yeah, I felt a little bit like silly for not reading the small print, but equally I just thought I would be covered because that's the date it said he was covered from, and that it would be like car insurance and that you'd be covered up until a point on one insurance policy and then thereafter the next day on the other one.
Of course, all insurance policies are riddled with small print, whether they're for pets, cars, medical bills, or problems with your house.
Travel policies are full of get-out clauses too. Some won't cover you for theft from your hotel room unless there's sign of a forced entry. Others won't cover you for accidental damage to your camcorder. And don't even think about whitewater rafting and mountain biking on many standard policies. You're safer sticking to something more like...
Personally, I don't need any reason to steer clear of physical activity. Although some people do seem to enjoy it strangely. They join gyms to work out and shape up. But if they don't study the small print, they could lose pounds of a different kind. Sign up to 12 months at Bannatynes and, once the year is up, if you thought it would switch to a rolling month-by-month contract, then you'd be wrong. You have to give 3 months' notice. It's the same at David Lloyd, where Marta White signed up back in 2009.
I went to give them my cancellation notice, which they asked me when I want to cancel. And I said next month, and they said to me, actually, it's 3 months notice. They never told me about 3 months notice when I signed the contract. They said in a small print that you should read it before you signed. I ended up paying around £144 more than I thought I would.
All this talk of gyms.
I need to lie down.
Oi, Henry, that's my bed. Yeah, the one you and Premier Inn have been advertising for months. £29 a room, it says, in very big print. But what's this? Oh, yeah, an asterisk. And where there's an asterisk, you can be sure there'll be lots of small print.
I think the Premier Inn offer is a fantastic example of bait pricing. Yeah, you see the offer, you get all excited about it, and then come the terms and conditions. For example, you may have to book 21 days in advance. You have to book online, you can't telephone. You may have to be flexible with your dates and even your location. You may need to stay 2 nights rather than the 1 night. It's totally non-refundable, this particular purchase, and they charge you £2 for booking with your credit card. The reason the bait pricing works is that once you're on the website, you get committed to that course of action. If you can't find that price, then you often find another room at a slightly higher price or end up staying at a location you may not have wanted to stay at.
Got all that? It's what I'd call one very important asterisk.
And here's another one on the Ho Seasons website. Right next to the sign saying you only need a £50 deposit to reserve your holiday. Great, so Donna Carnell thought. She took advantage of a so-called low deposit when booking a villa in Portugal, just £25. But when she had to alter her holiday plans, Ho Seasons demanded £414. Why? Because if you cancel, they charge you the difference between this special deposit and the standard deposit. And, you guessed, you can only find that get-out clause tucked away in the small print.
So there you have it. Never trust the big print and always study the small stuff. Anybody want to buy a signed album? It's a bargain.
This offer is not available in the UK. Applicants must be over 21 and be born on a Thursday and be a resident of the Galapagos Islands. The signature is not that of the named artist, neither is the album. Add £15.99 for postage and packaging. You do not have the right to cancel. Further terms and conditions apply.